I'm sorry, I know a lot of people don't want me to drag Tesla into this conversation. Normally I try to keep them out, but I can't help it because there's just way too similarities between what Ford is doing and what Tesla has done, but is not going to keep on doing because, again, they're obsessed with AI and robotics. So they want to slowly transition away from the vehicle business, but I think that's leaving a very vacant hole in the market for genuinely good products that people actually want to buy and own and use, not subscribe to, which is the future a lot of us would like to avoid. And I gotta hand it to Ford. It feels like they've genuinely listened to all of what, in my opinion, is the most major things necessary for the EV industry to succeed. I know a lot of people were feeling negative towards Ford and electric vehicles after the discontinuation of the Lightning, but if you recall my video from a few months ago, I actually thought it was a good idea because the Lightning from the beginning, I think, was kind of a flawed concept. It was like, let's just do the least amount of work, keep as much of the F-150 the same, and throw batteries on the inside, and that's not how you transition people away to combustion engines. EVs have to be fundamentally rethought from the ground up, and it looks like that's what they're doing with this universal vehicle platform. And while they didn't go into the specifics or even unveil the first design yet, they did give us a lot more clues and at least more of a silhouette of the finalized design, and unveiled a lot of the things they're doing to achieve these crazy low prices while not compromising on the product as a whole. Most of these things are going to sound pretty familiar though. So for one, they talked about using their terminology, a unicasting on both the front and rear of the vehicle, substantially fewer parts than even a Ford Maverick, which is already pretty cheap. This is basically Ford's branding of gigacastings. Even the footage they showed in the event looked exactly like the gigacastings we've seen on the Model Y for years and years. And yes, Tesla used these same kind of gigacasting technologies on the Cybertruck. They also announced today that they're using a 48-volt architecture. So remember when the Cybertruck deliveries began and they sent out these how to develop a 48-volt vehicle platform to all the major automakers? Well, Ford actually listened, and now they're incorporating the 48-volt architecture on this next-gen EV, something Tesla hasn't done on the refreshed Model Y or refreshed Model 3. Would have been nice on the S or X, but we just canceled those. So 48 volts is actually expanding in the industry, which helps reduce the weight and complexity of the wires and electronics in the vehicle. On that same subject, they also are moving towards a zonal architecture, similar to what Tesla and Rivian have been doing for years, reducing the number of microcomputers around the vehicle, which should make over-the-air software updates much smoother, much faster, and gives Ford a lot more control over the software of their vehicles, so that's great. And something else I'm super excited about that I don't think gets enough attention in the United States, LFP batteries. They are going all in with prismatic, iron-based battery packs on this universal vehicle platform, which I think is awesome because I own an LFP Model 3 and it charges way, way better than the long-range Model Y that I'm sitting in right now. It has better cycle life, you can charge it to 100% a lot more frequently, and on top of that, it's even cheaper, and I think there's a good chance Ford is going to have access to some of the cheapest batteries in the United States because they're building these battery packs themselves within the country, so they don't have the tariffs to worry about, and they're using cheaper elements in these battery packs because there's no nickel, there's no cobalt. I'm a huge fan of LFP. I wish Tesla would bring it back in their own vehicles in the US. Right now, they're only using it overseas. They kind of stopped offering it in the US because of the tax credit shenanigans, but those are gone now. So honestly, I don't see a reason to not offer them. And they even referenced in today's presentation that people want over 300 miles of range. So that was either dumb marketing verbiage or them saying that they expect to still exceed 300 miles on a charge with LFP batteries, which is awesome. There was a brief glimpse of a NACS port as well that they were testing around with their zonal electronics, and that may not seem like a big deal because the rest of the industry is already using NACS, but Ford technically hasn't switched to it yet on any of their vehicles. I'm very sad we're never going to see a NACS port on an F-150 Lightning. We might see it on a Mach-E, but they haven't done it yet, which is weird because of all the legacy automakers to sign on for NACS. Ford was the very, very first to actually officially adopt it. They did a big announcement and everything and were bragging about it, and yet they haven't put the NACS port on their vehicles yet. So I'm glad to see that the next gen vehicle is going to have that. Here's hoping they actually put it in the right place. Just for clarification as to why that's such an important detail for me, it's because there's still over 15,000 charging stalls in the United States with V3 cables that are not long enough, meaning if you don't put the charge port in the right place, there's a good chance you have to be double parked and you can show up at a busy supercharger that online says there's stalls available, but you can't charge there simply because of the port placement replacement on your vehicle. I wish we could go back in time and lengthen all the cables, but we can't do that. But we do have a choice when designing new vehicles from the ground up on where to put the high voltage charge port. So that's why I'm really hoping for either passenger side front or driver side rear to ensure that no matter which charger you're going to, V3 or V4, there's going to be a space for you as long as it says there's a stall available online. They really doubled down on aerodynamics as well, which is absolutely speaking my language as an Aptera fan. As an efficiency fan, it was awesome to hear Ford talk so much about fine-tuning their aerodynamics, like slightly lowering the roofline just to increase the range by a couple miles or slightly tweaking the side view mirrors. And it was through those visualizations that we didn't quite get a full unveil, but we definitely got our best look yet at the upcoming mid-size pickup truck platform, which definitely looks very slippery from the side angle. It feels like the windshield is sticking out really far. Still certainly has a hood. I don't think they're completely changing the classic traditional pickup truck shape, but keep in mind, while a lot of people out there may brag about the Cybertruck revolutionizing the way pickup trucks look, the best coefficient of drag in a vehicle today is actually the Rivian R1T, which certainly looks a little futuristic, but not from the silhouette. That's just mostly from its headlights. I love the look of the R1T, by the way. It's a beautiful truck, but what's crazy to me is that Ford announced today the coefficient of drag they're achieving with this mid-size electric pickup truck they plan on launching next year. It's 15% better than the best coefficient of drag pickup truck on the market today. So they didn't specifically call out Rivian, but I think that means we're talking about a sub 0.3 CD. So dipping into the 0.29s or 0.28s, which is incredibly difficult to do. But they've got a bunch of people on the design team that are from Formula One, which are like aerodynamic legends. So I understand how it's feasible that they can achieve that. And just to hear a legacy automaker talk so much about 48 volts, unicastings, and optimizing aero so that they can have the smallest possible battery pack they can, and prioritizing affordability. They're still saying a starting price of like $30,000. That's probably the spec I'm the most skeptical with this announcement, because they also said the F-150 Lightning would start around $40,000. And of course, Ford is still stuck. I don't really have a choice, unfortunately, with the dealership model, which means that if there's enough high demand for these pickup trucks, it doesn't really matter what the MSRP is, because a dealer can tack on all these extra markups and fees. So personally, I don't think we're gonna see an actual like bill of sale where someone walks out the door spending 30 or 35K. But if these specs end up being accurate, I think it could still be an incredibly compelling vehicle option for people out there, even at $40,000 or $45,000. If it's an LFP battery pack, that means it's probably gonna have a great charge curve. It's gonna have great cycle life, and of course, vehicle to home, all that great stuff. And an over 300-mile range. I mean, if you're making this thing super aerodynamic, and also Ford is very accepting of CarPlay, unlike Tesla, Rivian, and GM. So if those are important selling points to you, I think this could be an incredibly compelling option. And it's exciting to see a company actually prioritize affordability, but without just like completely compromising on the user experience. You know, creating an affordable vehicle out there that still comes with cup holders, you know, and speakers. Those kinds of things I'm impressed by. So here's hoping Ford actually unveils this thing at some time this year. I would love to see what it actually looks like. I'm guessing very Maverick-like, but just with more light bar. But ultimately, it's just hilarious to me that we're getting all these kinds of announcements from Ford, you know, the over 100-year-old automotive company, when all of these things are honestly what Tesla should be doing. The Cybertruck was obviously just over-engineered and way too big and way too expensive for what it is. And I think a lot of that comes down to its crazy weight and the additional complexity of the exoskeleton, which didn't really turn out to be all that everybody was hoping for, you know, and it's really just the doors that are bullet resistant, and most people don't need their trucks to be bullet resistant, but they do need their trucks to be affordable and have good range. So the Cybertruck has just kind of become a big flop, not even selling at a tenth of what Elon was hoping for. But it feels like Ford is learning from Tesla's best-selling product, the Model Y, using the unicastings, optimizing the aero, and thinking smaller so that you can actually ship a pickup truck with a smaller LFP battery pack, but still take advantage of things like the 48-volt architecture, the zonal electronics. It's like, Tesla, this is what you guys should have been doing based on the Cybertruck's performance. But no, instead, I guess they're just trying to leapfrog car ownership and go straight to the robotaxi future, which I still have my doubts and skepticism around. But feel free, Tesla fans, continue living in FSD dream world that you've been in for the last 10 years. I hope it's nice for you in the next 10 years as well. But in the meantime, I'm super pumped and excited to see what Ford's cooking up, and I can't wait to know the actual specs, like the payload capacity, the bed size, how big is this mid-sized truck really? Let me know your guys' predictions and guesses down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.